Hello and welcome back to So Forth and So On. I am Miss Henderson and today we are going to finish up the birthday present for my friend. First of all, I'd like to say Happy Resurrection Sunday to those who are celebrating today, and I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day in remembrance of the reason for our Easter Sunday. Now to our video. I have already made placemats, the table runner, and so now and the napkins, and so now we're going to make a coaster and a napkin ring. So first of all, I have, let's see, 2 strips of fabric cut at 5 by 2. 5 by 2, and then I have a heavy interfacing on one of the fabrics. So let me show you. So I have the plain backing. Sorry about the light, it's a touch sensitive light. I'll be careful. Anyway, the strip, this is one strip, the plain backing, and then my feature fabric. And the feature fabric, I have it interfaced with a heavy interfacing, really stiff interfacing for the napkin ring. What I'm going to do here is place them right sides together. And if you'll notice, the placement of the interfacing is right along the top edge here. So there's a little hanging off here. And I am going to begin sewing just at this edge here and come around, so all along the top, along this side, and then just turn that corner there, so I'll have a nice corner. But I'm going to leave the majority of this open so that I can turn this right side out. Okay? And make sure you have your fabric right sides together. Sometimes it's difficult to tell. Alright. And you can make your napkin rings any size you want, of course. I'm using a straight stitch and 2.5 stitch length, and I'm going to back stitch, and I would say I was about a 1/2 inch from that first corner. Then I lift my presser foot, turn, presser foot down, and that short side, so all the way up. Pivot, so along the entire top edge, the long edge, just one side fully, and we're approaching the short side again. Press your foot up, pivot, and sew down the entire short side. And we pivot, and we're just going to take in a few stitches in and back stitch. Then we want to snip our, let's just trim it down. Snip our corners. Cut any loose threads and uneven parts. Just neaten it up. I'm very excited about this birthday present for my friend, and so I've taken care and it's just really special. So clean up my little mess here. Always clean as you go. Okay. So now you could give this a little press if you wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn it right side out, being very careful but yet firm, because the interfacing is a little stiffer than the lightweight interfacing. You're going to have to use a little bit of muscle to turn it, but just be careful. And this is so simple. And then you want to use, well, I do have a point turner, but I don't know what I did with it. So I'm going to do what I tell people not to do. Oh, I found my point turner. It's over there. Sorry about that. Okay, here's the point turner. And I want to go in and just push out my corners real carefully. So get them poked out as much as possible. Now sometimes if you are not able to get your corners poked out completely and fully, I'm just going to pretend like I can't get this one out. Well, you won't be able to see it as well as I'd like for you to, but let's see. If you are unable to get your corner out, then you can take a little pin and go right in and pull that fabric out. Just carefully pull it out, and you'll get your corner out like that. And you see how you pull that fabric, that extra fabric out. Just be careful not to pull the thread. So it can be done. You just take your time and do it. So there's more than one way to get your corner out. Alrighty. I'm going to finish with my point turner and go ahead and get that corner out. And again, you can use a knitting needle, a blunt pair of scissors, just anything that's not going to poke through your stitching and help you get your corners out. And the key is to just be patient and careful so that you have a great end result. So now that you have it turned right side out, you can straighten it out and fiddle with it to make sure your fabrics are right on that edge there. And I tend to finger press. Actually, I would take it to the iron, but I'm going to finger press it and just get that nice and flat. I'm using my fingernail. And then at the top, you're just going to push in like you would close up any opening for a pillow, a bag, anything you turn the right side out. To close up that opening, push that extra fabric down and fold it inside. And give it a finger press. And this project is almost complete. You might put in some clips or pins to hold it in place while you stitch up that opening. Now, of course, I am going to sew all the way around, but you could just as well hand stitch and do a ladder stitch on just that one part and be done. I'm ready to move to the next step. So I'm going to sew all the way around, and then I'll meet you back here to finish up. Okay, so we are back here, and I finished sewing all the way around. So I have looks like a bookmark, but I have a little strip here sewn all the way around. And now it's time to add our snap or popper. So what I do is overlap to make my napkin ring. Just overlap. and you do it as much, whatever the diameter you want, or the width, you do it like you want. And I take my tool here, and in finding the center of the napkin ring, I just fold that in half, and wherever the fold is, that indentation, I my tool there, and just be careful. And I go through all layers. Okay. So now I have my starter hole in each one. And so I have my snaps here, and I just put the one end through on the inside, pushing it through to the outside. And it doesn't matter whether you put the male or female part here, because it is not a bag or anything. So I just put the female end over here, and I put it on my press. Make sure it's centered in the bottom there, and then press that in. So my cam snap is in, and I just give it another little press just to make sure. And then on the other side, I wrap it around just to make sure I don't put it in incorrectly. And so this side, the holder goes on top, and the other attachment piece goes on the inside. And once you get those together, you set it on your cam press here and press it down. I give it a good press. And so now my napkin ring is complete. So there's my napkin ring. And let's see, here is my napkin. I'm just going to do a simple fold. Not even a fold, I'm going to do a little roll. And put my napkin ring on. Snap it in place. And now I have a napkin ring. And you can put the snap on the front if you think that's a decorative piece. Maybe put a little bling on there, hot glue some rhinestones or whatever, or you can put it on the back. So there's that. So our next piece, and we are done with our cam snaps. Next item, the last part of this set is our coaster. Very simple, very basic coaster. What I have here, let's measure 4 by 4. Okay, so I have 4 by 4 pieces of fabric. I have the feature fabric, or the pretty fabric that I'm using. It picks up a little lint, but you can use a lint brush or anything. Okay, and then I have the plain for the backing, and I have a piece of batting that I'm putting on there. So I will place my plain piece down on top of the batting, and then pretty sides together I will put the feature piece on top. And just make sure everything is lined up nicely. Okay, and I'll go ahead and sew all the way around, leaving myself an opening. And I am going to do a straight stitch at 2.5 stitch length, and I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And again, I'm going to leave about a 1 inch opening, 1.5 inch. Alright, that was fast. And we're going to cut our corners and trim the excess so we won't have so much bulk, because we do have a batting in here. Don't cut across your closure part. We'll need that to have something to turn inside when we flip it right side out. So the part where you left the opening, don't trim that. Just trim your corners and your edge, the other edges. And I'm using pinking shears. I just like those because it keeps things from fraying, even though this is going to be on the inside. Just nice. Okay. And trim our threads. That's something we have to practice, is making sure we trim our threads immediately. Because whenever we say we're going to go back and trim our threads, we forget. Okay. I find that the little pauses and interruptions in sewing are just a way of reminding us to take a break. Alright, so we have this sewn together. I'm going to reach in between the two fabrics and turn it right side out carefully. And I'm just going to go ahead and completely turn it right side out, and then I will poke out my corners after I get it turned right side out, because it's such a small piece. There could be too much going on. So now I'm poking out my corners. And one of my corners didn't get, I don't think I back stitched at that part there. So I'm going to go back in, because I want that corner to be able to poke out. And if I don't sew it from the inside like I should have, then it won't turn out. So I'm going to go back in here, back stitch, and you know, this happens from time to time, and it's okay. I knew I didn't backstitch once I had started sewing, but I wanted to see if I could get away with it, but no. So now you see why we backstitch at the beginning and end of our sewing. That stitch will come out. Okay. Alright, let's get back to turning out this coaster. I did clip my corner there. So we're going to go ahead and turn it right side out and continue. Now we're pretty much done with this. Once we get it turned right side out, we'll make sure our corners are poked out, and we will sew the opening closed by going around the entire project. Now with the coasters though, I did plan to quilt a little bit on the coasters. So, and that's just making some random stitches back and forth. So now I use my point turner. It's like I have the hardest time keeping up with my point turner. Okay, so here we are. And just go in and get those corners out nice. Go to the next side. Get that corner out. And then I run along those seams to make sure those seams roll nice for me. It has another end here that you can use to do that too. So for a small piece, you still want to put just the same amount of effort to detail and attention to detail with a smaller piece. Now, I would normally just take this over to the ironing board and give it a good press. But I'm going to finger press it, and I'll give it a good press after I'm done. But I just like to make sure those seams roll nicely before I sew it closed. Okay, so now this is the coaster pretty much all done. And I'm going to sew around the edge at 1/8 of an inch to close up that opening. And I didn't backstitch that time because I'm going to be going around. Okay. So now I'm back to the beginning. And I just sewed through the beginning stitches and then backstitched. So it's covered as far as the back stitching goes. So now what I'm going to do is line my presser foot up with the edge of that first row of stitching. And I'm just going to quilt. Lift and do it again. Line up the presser foot with that row of stitching and then come down and back stitch. And I'm going to do that all the way across my coaster. Line it up with that line of stitching, back stitch, so I'm going to finish this and then we'll be finished. Okay, so we are back. We are all done. I have my table set here to show you the table runner. And I just put a little centerpiece here so that you could see that I did put my points here on either end. Lovely. And then there is a little trim here and on this end as well. This table runner, or a table topper actually, is reversible. So if we don't want to use this particular side, we can flip it over and use this side. Again with the pointed ends and the pretty detail and a solid center. That makes for a very nice centerpiece to accompany. I really am pleased with the way this turned out. So this is our table topper or table runner. and it is quilted and it's very nice. And you can, it has little pockets so you can store everything in here and put everything away. Okay, so that is our table topper. Then we have one place setting. The place settings are all reversible as well. So our coaster is here. This is our placemat and one of our napkins with the napkin ring. Okay. And when we reverse it, we have the colorful side of the fabric, our napkin, and the napkin ring right here, and our coaster, which is reversible as well. It has a full reversible set. I think that is awesome, and I am so excited about giving this to my friend to celebrate this year's birthday. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's turn the camera around. There we go. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you liked the information that I shared with you. If you did, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'd like to hear from you, so make a comment in the comment section. Thank you to those who are subscribed and who have been working with me. I'm very new to this, so thank you for coming along with me on this journey. God bless you, and until my next video, may love bring you to your feet again and show you how to dream again. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.